White people are the devil. They say the Nuwaupians are not racist. Bull crap. I am. He might not be. That's his prerogative. I am. White people are devils. Always was. Always will be. Like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we cannot reform the devil.
Guess that makes us the soldiers of Satan. This guy isn't too paranoid.
He wants his followers to be. It's part of the manipulation. Instilling the idea of being persecuted creates solidarity and loyalty.
Oh, loyal enough to let him rape their daughters.
A lot of cult leaders were known to have sexual relations with the children in their groups. David Koresh had a 10-year-old bride. The leader of the Nuwaupian cult was convicted for molesting 14 children. The leader of the Nuwaupian cult was convicted for molesting 14 children. The leader of the Nuwaupian cult was convicted for molesting 14 children. The leader of the Nuwaupian cult was convicted for molesting 14 children.
Today, there are thousands of cults around the world. It's important to note two things about them. First, not all cults are religious. Some are political, therapy-based, focused on self-improvement, or otherwise. And on the flip side, not all new religions are what we're referring to as cults. So what exactly defines our modern understanding of cults? And why do people join them? Broadly speaking, a cult is a group or movement with a shared commitment to a usually extreme ideology that's typically embodied in a charismatic leader. And while few turn out as deadly as Jonestown or Heaven's Gate, which ended in a mass suicide of 39 people in 1997,
and with that, the best thing they can do with the public is say, oh, out there, anything there, they must be like Heaven's Gate. Heaven Gate was Christians. Jim Jones, Christian. David Koresh. Hey, I'm not a Christian. Because I gotta say, I'm happy that Christ found favor in me. God don't exist. All that sound goes with a whole bunch of demons you want to hear that. And that's what frightened me. You know what frightened me? I realized over a period of time, the doctrine I taught, I was growing demons. Because I was teaching, if I was wrong, and this is wrong, and that is wrong, I'm thinking these are loving people. And the reason why they like that doctrine so much is because they're demons. And when you start talking about Christ and salvation and resurrection and the Spirit of God and the glory of God, they get mad. Well, I thought you said that Jesus was. You don't decide to get saved. Dr. Malachi Z. York didn't decide to become a Christian or to get saved. I was quite content in Egyptology. If God chose as you, he steps out like a day of Pentecost and something hits you like bang, bang.
Most cults share some basic characteristics.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me very carefully, because I have something to say to you. Our next guest, let me tell you his story. On December the 13th, 1973, he was 27 years of age and a motor racing fanatic. And on that day, December 13th, 1973, he was on his way to work, wasn't he? Because as well as being a motor racing enthusiast, he had his own motor racing magazine. And he was going to work, and he drove off his normal route to a volcano in central France on his way to work. There he met, listen to me closely now, there he met some extraterrestrials in their spaceship on the side of the volcano. It's only a small volcano. And they told him that they had created humankind in laboratories, and they asked him to spread the word throughout the world about them. Listen to me, Johnny, watch my lips. And they asked him to build an embassy on neutral territory so that they could come and visit the Earth, the people they had created, in peace. Now, in 1975, he met with the ETs again in a south-central region of France, and they took him with them to their planet, which is God knows how many light years away. I don't know how far it is. Now, he says that if even 5% of the people around the world who claim to have seen UFOs are sincere, then it's worth taking seriously. Let's have a welcome, please, for Claude Riel. This story is... They met you on the side of the road, Claude, did they, these guys?
Yes, it was... I was going to my office, like you said before, and I didn't know that was the day, this day will change my life.
And what do they look like?
They look like us, because they created us in their image, like the Bible explained. And they are like us, a little bit smaller. They have large almond-shaped eyes, but they are like us. They are human like us.
He's known by many names.
The group's leader is identified in literature as Malachi Zodok York, the Supreme Grand Master. He is described as a charismatic speaker and apparently a prolific writer, producing monthly newsletters and dozens of books.
He says that he is from the 8th planet in the 19th galaxy of Wu-Nuwaup, a universe far outside of this one. Does it make sense to you?
That's in the book. If he wrote it, then yeah. We're from Orion. Dr. York is from Risk. He's from Orion. What's the deal? It's nothing strange. It's just new to the public.
The vast majority of cults are started by an individual who's extremely charismatic, who's very confident, very commanding, in some cases very demanding, expects an awful lot of the followers.
A typical cult requires a high level of commitment from its members and maintains a strict hierarchy, separating unsuspecting supporters and recruits from the inner workings. It claims to provide answers to life's biggest questions through its doctrine, along with the required recipe for change that shapes a new member into a true believer. And most importantly, it uses both formal and informal systems of influence and control to keep members obedient, with little tolerance for internal disagreement or external scrutiny.
I'll tell you something, a lot of you men who was in the community for years, under what I was teaching you, under the lifestyle that you had to live. You said, I don't know why I gotta live like this. I don't know why I gotta put up with this. Because I was building an imaginary pyramid. I was saying sleep on the floor. There's rats in there, so what's wrong with rats? They might bite you, then don't get bit. There's always somebody that gets bit. Why gotta be you? There's no heat, so there's too much heat, so I subjected y'all to everything that you can go through to make you ready to stand whatever comes against us. Because I don't need, can I speak here? I don't need the bitching men. I really don't need the bitching men.
You might wonder whether some of these descriptions might also apply to established religions. In fact, the word cultus originally described people who cultivated the worship of certain gods by performing rituals and maintaining temples. But in time, it came to mean excessive devotion. Many religions began as cults, but integrated into the fabric of the larger society as they grew. A modern cult, by contrast, separates its members from others. Rather than providing guidelines for members to live better lives, a cult seeks to directly control them, from personal and family relationships to financial assets and living arrangements. Cults also demand obedience to human leaders, who tend to be highly persuasive people with authoritarian and narcissistic streaks motivated by money, sex, power, or all three. While a cult leader uses personal charisma to attract initial followers, further expansion works like a pyramid scheme, with earlier members recruiting new ones. Cults are skilled at knowing whom to target, often focusing on those new to an area, or who have recently undergone some personal or professional loss. Loneliness and a desire for meaning make one susceptible to friendly people offering community. The recruitment process can be subtle, sometimes taking months to establish a relationship. In fact, more than 2/3 of cult members are recruited by a friend, family member, or coworker, whose invitations are harder to refuse. Once in the cult, members are subjected to multiple forms of indoctrination. Some play on our natural inclination to mimic social behaviors or follow orders. Other methods may be more intense, using techniques of coercive persuasion involving guilt, shame, and fear. And in many cases, members may willingly submit out of desire to belong and to attain the promised rewards. The cult environment discourages critical thinking, making it hard to voice doubts when everyone around you is modeling absolute faith. The resulting internal conflict, known as cognitive dissonance, keeps you trapped, as each compromise makes it more painful to admit you've been deceived. And though most cults don't lead members to their death, they can still be harmful. By denying basic freedoms of thought, speech, and association, cults stunt their members' psychological and emotional growth. A particular problem for children who are deprived of normal developmental activities and milestones. Nevertheless, many cult members eventually find a way out, whether through their own realizations, the help of family and friends, or when the cult falls apart due to external pressure or scandals. Many cults may be hard to identify, and for some, their beliefs, no matter how strange, are protected under religious freedom. But when their practices involve harassment, threats, illegal activities, or abuse, the law can intervene. Believing in something should not come at the cost of your family and friends. And if someone tells you to sacrifice your relationships or morality for the greater good, they're most likely exploiting you for their own.